Hello everybody, my name is Adam Hammond. Thank you so much for having me for your career day. I'm a morning news anchor here at WREG News Channel 3 in Memphis, Tennessee, and I actually know Miss Smith. She was one of my teachers when I was in school, so it's really cool to talk to you guys now. She asked me to do this, and she also sent me a list of questions. So I'm going to read a question and then I'm going to answer it for you so we can get to know about my job a little bit and how you can become a news anchor if you want to as well. The first question is, describe a typical day. The first thing I do is I work the morning shift, so it's really early. Our show is on from 4:30 in the morning until 7 o'clock in the morning, and we just finished up our show a little bit ago, and after that we do cut-ins for the national news program in the morning. So every 20 minutes we have a cut-in where we go back and we tell people about the news. So I'm about to do that coming up in just a little bit, but I want to talk to you before I do that. So the typical work day, I get up at 2:15 in the morning, which is really early. I have to go to bed pretty early because of that. I go to bed around 7:30 every night, which is probably before most of you go to bed. But 2:15 in the morning, it's still dark. Most people aren't awake, and I come here to the studio. And I get here at 3:30 and I start getting ready for my show. It starts at 4:30. One of the important things that I have to do for my job is I have to keep up with what's going on in the news. I have to read newspapers. I have to check out a lot of websites, which is what I do during that time here at my desk. And I also read over the scripts. We have producers who get here really late. Actually, they get here at 10 o'clock at night and they work on building the show. They write all the stories, and everything that you see on TV, they're responsible for, and they put all that stuff into a computer program called Opus that creates the show, and it creates a rundown for us to follow. So I look over that and I see how the show's going to work, and make sure there's no tricky names that I'm going to slip up on when we're down on the desk reading over the stories for TV. So I do that, and then the show finishes, like I said, and we're here right now waiting on our cut-ins. And then after the cut-ins, I'll have a little bit of downtime. Sometimes during that, I'll go out and I'll work on a story. If it's a special story, I did one yesterday on people whose pictures were being stolen on Facebook and Instagram, and other people would use them and pretend they were their pictures. So that story is pretty important because a lot of people are on Instagram and Facebook. So occasionally I'll work on special stories like that impact a lot of people. And if I'm not working on something like that, I can work on things here at the studio. And then I have another show at 12 o'clock, which is our noon show, and I anchor that show as well, and then I head home for the day. So I get here early. I get here at 3:30 in the morning, but I get to leave at 12:30, so I get to enjoy the entire afternoon, which is pretty fun too. So that's my typical work day. The next question is, what subjects like reading, writing, math are important for your job and career? Well, a lot of what I do everything I do is based on reading. The entire time I'm sitting on the desk, and I'm going to show you this in a minute, but the entire time I'm sitting on the desk, we're reading a teleprompter, which is in front of the camera. And so I'm basically reading out loud the stories that have already been written. Or sometimes I write some stories, so that's where writing comes in to play. I have to be good on with grammar. You have to be good with spelling. You have to be good with sentence structure. We have different kinds of writing styles in broadcasting where you want to make sure you don't use passive voice. You want to make sure you're talking in a current form where people can see how this is impacting them right now and what they can take away from it. So there are a couple of nuances you have to learn about specific broadcast writing, but you have to have a good understanding for writing. You have to have a good understanding for reading. I remember being in school when we would read books out loud, and you would get kind of nervous when it was your turn and you're going to have to read out loud because you didn't want to stumble over words or mess up. Well, that's what I do every single morning now. So you just have to become a good public speaker. You have to do that a lot. Every time you do a presentation at school, or you do a project or a book report, and you have to get up and talk about it to your class, that's where you can work on your public speaking skills and hone those skills, because no matter who you are, no matter what job you have, at some point you're going to have to come up with some ideas, and you're going to have to present them to a group of people. And in my case, it's thousands of people who are watching TV, but no matter what you do, it may be a room full of people, and you need to know how to do that well. So work on your public speaking, work on your reading, and work on your writing. And another very important one is government, social studies, civics, history, stuff like that. when I report, I focus a lot on political things. I was the political reporter before I became the anchor. So it's all about government and politicians and how what they're doing impacts people at home. So I have to kind of understand how all that works and break it down and present it in an easy, simple way for people at home to understand. So that's another very important one, which is pretty specific for my job. I don't do too much math. Math is not a really big part of my job, but the producers who were sitting in the control room, which I'll show you in a second, they're the ones who built the show I told you about. They're the ones who wrote the story. They have to be very good at math because they keep track of time. Every time we hit a commercial break, we have to do that at a certain time. So based on how fast we're reading or how slow we're reading or how many stories there are, they may have to add or subtract some time from the commercial break time, and they may have to drop a story or they may have to add something so that we get out at the right time. So math is very important for their job, just not mine, but we still work in the same, industry. So, you never know what kind of skills you may need in a newsroom. The next one is what type of training or school do you need to perform your job? Do you need a high school diploma, college degree, things like that? You do have to have, for my job, I got a high school diploma. I went to Oconee County High School, not far from where you are, and I went to Georgia College, and I graduated from college there. I majored in political science, which, as I told you, is really important for what I do. And I also had an internship while I was in college. I worked at a news station in Macon, Georgia, which was about 45 minutes from my school where I was at. And that internship was so important in equipping me with everything I needed to know about broadcasting and journalism, because you learn certain things in school, but you're not going to learn everything you need to know for your job. You just learn how to learn, basically. And I know you probably heard your teacher say that before, but it's every subject, even math. Even though it doesn't impact me every day per se at my job, I have to know how to learn. I have to know how to learn new things. That's what an internship did for me. I didn't learn all those specific things about how my job works at school, but through my internship, I was able to take my political science background that I learned at school, learning about government and how legislation and politics works, and I was able to put that with what I learned at the station about how TV works, and that's how I'm able to do my job every day. So that's the answer for that. A lot of people go to graduate school for their job. In my industry, it's not very big. A lot of people don't go to graduate school just because it doesn't impact your pay. Sometimes if you go to graduate school, you'll get paid more. Well, in my industry, that doesn't matter. It's more about experience. Where have you worked? How long have you worked there? What kind of experience do you have? That impacts my field more. But there are some things that you need to go to graduate school, and that's okay. My job's just not one of them. How long did your training take? I went to college for 4 years, and I did my internship my last 2 years there. I started getting paid towards the end of school, and then I actually got a job there in Macon, so that's how that worked out. At Fox 24, I started out actually doing the camera in the studio. I worked the camera. I did the floor directing. I wrote some stories, just, news assistant things all around the newsroom, which is a very entry-level position, but without that, I wouldn't have gotten a reporting job right after that, and then I wouldn't have gotten an anchor job right after that, and then I wouldn't have moved to Memphis. So, everything you have to get that experience, and you have to be willing to start somewhere lower than you want to be and work hard towards your goal of where you're going. What do you like the most about your job? I was telling a group of students this yesterday. My job is very fun because I get to be really involved in the community. We had our pyramid here in town. It used to be a huge arena, and now it's the Bass Pro Shop. They just turned into a superstore. You guys have got to come to it. It's like Disney World, basically, for people who like to hunt and fish and be outside and all that. So, we have been able to go down there to the Bass Pro and do all this stuff and see how excited people are and pump it up. We have a music festival coming up this weekend, so we're going to preview that and go down there and talk to some of the musicians and things. So we're really able to get involved in the community and meet people who are making Memphis, and you at home in your community as well, you can do this. You get to meet people who are making a big difference in your community and making it a better place to live. So we really get to be a part of that. Another thing I like the most about my job is it's a team working environment. If I didn't do my job right and someone else didn't do their job right, we wouldn't be on TV. Everybody has to do their job the best way they know how so that we can get a product on the air. Because somebody who works in the back in the control room, I don't know how to do what they do, but they don't know how to do what I do. So everybody has their own role, and everybody has to do their job really well. So I like that teamwork aspect of it. And my computer just went to sleep, and I don't know what the next question is. Let me wake it back up. Okay, here we go. What do I like least about my job? Well, with my job, it's very public. I have to, every day when I'm on TV, it's basically a performance. I have to be on, I have to be energetic, I have to be excited. And everybody has bad days. Everybody has some days where they maybe don't want to talk as much, or maybe they just, kind of want to keep to themselves. But I can't have one of those days. Every single day has to be a good day, and I have to be ready to have a lot of energy to do my job. So sometimes that can wear you down. I can get, after a few weeks, maybe I'll have an off day and I'll be kind of tired and maybe not as energetic as I need to be. But in my job, you have to suck it up, and you just have to move on with it. You have to work on putting on a brave face, putting on a good face, and making the choice to have a good day, which I'm big on that, I think. And this is a good lesson for you, not just for my job and career day, but this is a big lesson that I'm big on. Happiness is your choice. Having a good day is your choice. So when you wake up, you need to decide, this is going to be a good day, this is going to be a productive day, great things are going to happen. And luckily with my job, this is another thing I like. I can kind of start people's days off like that. I can promote that and try to send good positive energy their way for all the people who are watching. So yeah, I made a good out of that bad. That's my least favorite thing about my job. I don't like the pressure of always having to, be on and bring the energy, but it's a good thing too, because you have to just snap out of it and always be ready to do your job the best way you can. That's all the questions. Now I'm going to take you on a tour around the studio. I'm going to try to flip this camera around. I don't think I can do that, so I'm going to have to turn it. Let me show you. This is my desk. That's where I sit every day. This is my co-anchor's desk right there. And then over there is the sports department. That's where all the sports people. I'm here super early in the morning, so there aren't that many people here because it's very early. We sit in a loft. We sit above the studio. Our studio is called a working newsroom, which means everybody's desk and offices are all around the studio that you see on TV. So I'm going to show you that from my perspective. This is from the loft, as I was telling you, above the studio. Those are all the lights. They're hanging right there above us, and that's the desk where we sit at. And you can see all the cameras right there, which I'll show you a little closer in a second. Over there is the weather center, which I'll give you an up-close look at in a second too. But that's from my perspective. It's a pretty view. I really like that seat. I'm going to go downstairs really quick. Nobody knows I'm giving you a tour right now, so hopefully we don't surprise anyone too much. Okay. Here's the studio. These are our cameras. The cool thing about these cameras is they are robots. Somebody in the back is using a little remote control, a little joystick to turn these so that we can see them and take all the shots you see on TV. Now this is what I was telling you about as far as reading. That's called a teleprompter. And when we sit there, we see this teleprompter with all the words on it, and we read that for people at home to see. But on the other side of that, you may be able to see it if I get really close, maybe not. That's a camera in there, and it's two-way glass. So they can't see those words at home, and we can't see the camera, but the camera's back there, and it looks like we're looking into the camera, even though we really aren't. So that's a magic part of TV. It looks like we're reading from our perspective, but on the other side of that's a camera, so at home you can't really tell we're reading. This is the news desk. That's where I sit every day in this chair. I'll give you a little perspective from my angle. This is what I see every morning, and that's what I look at on the teleprompter. This is our weather center. This is where Todd, our weather guy, is. All his computers. If you were talking to him, I'm sure he would tell you that one of the subjects you should be really big on is, he does a lot with computers and computer science. He has to do forecasts and build maps and things, so that's a big part of his job. This is a green screen. When he's standing in front of this, and we see him, it's just green. But in the back, they can hit a button and a map pops up. And when you're at home, it looks like he's standing in front of a map, and he's pointing at different cities and different states and things. And he's able to tell where he's pointing because there's a monitor on the side. And he sees what you're seeing at home on that monitor. So that's kind of how he's able to do that. But that's kind of a tough job. He has to really be on his toes and thinking a lot to do that. This is a big monitor. Sometimes we stand in front of that to do our different shots and stuff. And then this is a interview set. We'll sit over here sometimes and interview people, different leaders, different musicians, celebrities, things like that. This is our producer row. This is where all of our producers sit. I was telling you about them. They're the ones who build our shows. The two you see over there, one of them is our 4 o'clock producer and one is the 6 o'clock producer. They're working on that right now. They're working on building those shows for later, and standing there talking to them is Eric. He is our morning news producer. So he just finished up with his job, and he is ready to, he's getting ready to head home. He's been here since 10 o'clock last night, so he's pretty tired. I'm going to show you now our teleprompter. We read out there on our screen the teleprompter, and somebody sits back here in this spot. It's behind the set. They can't see us except for the monitor over there. They can see us on that little TV. But they use these controls right here to turn our words. So they scroll that so that we can read. And they have a really important job, because if they're not paying attention or they're not keeping up with our speed, we won't know what to say. So they always have to be ready to think on their toes too. That's a running theme. You have to be ready to think on your toes. Okay, now we're going to the back. This is the control room right here. This is where, that's Richard, our executive producer. He's our boss. This is where everyone sits in the back, and they put the show together. Those big screens right there, that has all the different camera shots, all the different camera angles and things that they throw up what they want to take. And this is very complicated and a lot of things that I'm not really sure about. But that's all this goes into putting our show on the air. They put all the shots together. They take the different shots. They take the commercials and everything else back here. So that's how that works. That's like the brain. If the station, if the studio was a person, that would be the brain that tells everything else what to do. It's really interesting. When you see them, they'll be in there in about 5 minutes putting everything together for our cut-in. And when they're doing that, it's really interesting, because we have a director. He's the person who sits in the middle. He has a headset on, and he says, take this shot, take that shot, take this animation, which is like a graphic that goes across it with a sound. So he tells them when to take all that. It's really interesting. This right here is our, nobody knows I'm coming around. This is kind of exciting. This is our audio booth. Say hello.
Hey! Oh my God, are we live?
That's Denise. She's our audio person. I'll show you her control board. She's the one who turns our microphones on. She controls our volume. She makes sure we're not talking on TV when we don't need to be talking on TV. She also has these monitors where she can see all the different shots. We have a band getting ready. They're going to perform a little later. So I imagine that's probably a pretty tough job she has when she has a band, that she has to make sure the sounds and the levels are all right, because if she doesn't have the level right and they're too hot, it's going to sound like it's buzzing on TV. It won't sound good. And if it's too quiet, it's going to be, it's not. This is where she does that. What is this? Can you tell me?
That's your mic, and that's Marcova's mic. You're blue because you're a boy.
Okay, great. Now, so which button do you hit? How do you control the volume?
The pot controls the volume, and the button turns the mic on.
And you have, when Markova's reading a story, you turn me off, right? Mm-hmm. Why do you do that?
Because you might sneeze or cough or say some ugly words.
Well, I would never say ugly words, but someone may. She's kidding. Thank you, Denise. We appreciate it. All right, now we're going to go to our next stop. I'm going to take you. This is our master control. This is like, if the control room is the brain, this is the nervous system. This is how everything, all our commercials come together, all the wires and electricity that runs one camera to the control room, and that runs everything. We have antennas and satellites outside. All of this runs under the ground. This floor comes up, and there are miles and miles and miles of cable and wires underneath it that run outside to an antenna. The picture goes to the top of an antenna, and it goes all the way out to everyone's house instantly, in a second. There's no delay. I mean, it just happens. So that's all engineering. If you're interested in that sort of stuff, we have engineers here every day who work on that. Right back here behind all these walls, those are computers. They'll have these doors open, and they'll always be in there working and making sure everything's functioning properly. So that's a really good job to have, actually, because anything that is technical, they have positions like that, which is a very technical job if you're interested in that sort of thing. This is our edit booth hall. When we go out and we shoot a story, when we're reporters, we go and we get interviews, we get video, and then we write the story, and then we have a photographer or a cameraman, as you probably heard them before, and they come in here to these rooms and they put all that stuff together and create the package that you see on TV. So this is where all that happens. This spot is our audio booth. This is where we go to record our audio. If you look at the wall, they have, I don't know if you can tell from your perspective, but it's foam. It's like a foam pad. And it's like that because it absorbs the echo. So when we're talking into this microphone, there's no echo and it just goes straight into the microphone. Because if we didn't have that, it would sound hollow, or there would be kind of a, you know, a reverberation within the what you hear, which you don't want that because it wouldn't sound as good. This is one of our photographers. He's in there. Well, he's not in there, but he just left his stuff there. He's working on a package for later today. This is our editor's room. She's in there. She puts video together, which we show on TV. Sometimes we'll have a photographer who just goes out and shoots. If there's a crime scene or if there's the first day of school or whatever, he shoots video. He'll bring it back here and she'll put it all together with those computers. So a lot of computer work with this. And if you know anything about technology, computers are always changing. There's always a new, you know, something to do with the cameras or the computers. This is George. He's working on our website. Hey, George.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. I'm giving a tour to some students.
Oh, okay.
But George, over there is the our social deck. Is that what you call it? It has a tweet deck. It has all our tweets, and in the middle computer, that's our what is that, George?
This is actually CNN video.
CNN video. So we're talking to these students. Can you tell them about like why technology is so important as far as our job goes, like with the website and doing the website and stuff like that?
Because so many people have access these days to computers, but also to smartphones, which is now mobile is almost taking over desktop. So we're trying to put as much news out as possible onto those. So we use websites, we use Facebook, Twitter, social media, and this is where I kind of bring it all in. So I have like CNN, I'm watching a video now from them for something we may post. And then I'm watching Twitter over here because there's so much information coming, even from police departments and other agencies. And then in the middle is basically where I put it all together into one piece and then send it out. All
right, thank you so much. Is George the man or what? We appreciate it, George. Beside him is Miss Ethel. She's our assignment editor. She's up here. She says hello. They say hello back, I'm sure. She monitors the scanners and emails and gets phone calls. That's a scanner right there. When police talk to each other on their radios, it goes out on a scanner, and we can hear that. We can hear what they're talking about. So if something big is going on, she can send a photographer out and a reporter out to go get that so that we have it on the air. So she has a very important job because without her, there would be no news. We wouldn't know what was going on. We wouldn't have any stories. So assignment editing is a very important job. It's like the first step in the news process. When you have a story, that's the first place it goes in. And then it goes to the producers and they put it in their show, and then it goes to a reporter, and the reporter goes out and they get the video and they get the interviews, and then the photographer puts all that together, and then it comes through the control room and it goes out, and we sit on the desk and we tell you at home about it. So that's the teamwork I was telling you about. That's the process that it takes to make sure we get something on the air, because what we do is we try to inform the public about what's going on in your community and how you can make your community a better place if you don't like what is going on. So whether it's weather, if you need to keep your family safe, or if it's an election coming up or whatever, we try to make sure you have all the information you need to stay safe and to change your community for the better if that's something you want to do. So I hope that was helpful to you. I hope you learned a little bit about my job and what I do, and I hope I didn't go too long, and I have to go do my cut-in right now. So I appreciate you having me for your career day, and I hope to talk to you guys in person maybe soon.